Well, hello there, people in the internet, and hello again. I'm TheMBmulti. Welcome to part 4 of my Doki Doki SNAFU series. My Doki again. It's weird. I can't say welcome to my Doki Doki Literature Club Encore series. It's much easier to say, or Blue Skies or whatever. Why does it have to say my in front of it? It's so weird. Welcome back to My Doki Doki SNAFU. This is part 4. There, that's better. In the previous episodes, we went grocery shopping with Sayori. She accidentally slipped out that she was a virgin, which is apparently useful information for us to know. Which makes me kind of worried that there's another sex scene in this mod. And we helped Natsuki with washing up the plates in the home ec room. And we noticed that her arms were unusually thin even for Natsuki, so we have a bit of a hint of that. But we're finally back, so Natsuki can start raging against Monika. The second we enter, Natsuki darts towards the closet where Monika is currently removing boxes. I'm not left alone for very long, however. Hey Mark, where have you been? Bathroom. I've been constipated for the last few days, but it seems Lady Luck has finally decided to smile down upon me. I'm feeling incredibly relieved, in case you were wondering about that as well. You really shouldn't say stuff like that to girls, it's kinda gross. It is. Isn't it a perfectly normal process, or are you trying to imply that you've never had bowel movements before? Don't you know, girls don't poop. Of course not, and don't ask things like that. Amazing, I had no idea that your digestive system was so efficient. Lowering my gaze to meet her abdomen, I begin staring curiously. It's not long before she's begun fidgeting. Jeez, could you stop already? She follows this by wrapping both arms around her stomach to prevent me from gathering any more data. Now, would you mind telling me what you were actually doing this whole time? Is that all you wanted to know? Could have just said so to begin with. Monika sent me to fetch Natsuki from their home ec room. With Natsuki, huh? Just the two of you? Twack! Ow! Haven't we gone over this already? It was a joke, I already told you I'm not jealous. An interesting claim, but perhaps you should leave the comedy for me. You're not very good at pulling it off. And you are? Huh? Trying to say I'm not? Little punk? Nope, not at all. With this being said, I look up at the clock to see how much time has passed since the meeting began. Looks like it took us a good while to get back. Gonna have to cut back on the foreplay next time. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. Unfortunate, but it's nice seeing you learning. We continue talking about— there's so much sexual innuendo, there has to be a fucking sex scene I have to censor along the line somewhere, right? It would be the biggest anticlimax if there wasn't a sex scene after all the sexual innuendo this guy's been making. We continue talking until Monika announces the end of the meeting. After packing up our things, the two of us head towards the door. Before we can actually leave, however, we're approached by a certain Meru lookalike. Who the hell is Meru? And apparently why the hell does she look like Natsuki? Hey Mark, wait a second. What's up Natsuki? Well, Monika said that I should thank you for helping me earlier. So thanks. But don't get the wrong idea, alright? I'm only doing this because she told me to. I told you to do what? Natsuki's face turns to a ghastly pale as the club president appears out of nowhere. It's nothing, never mind. Following this outburst, she runs out of the room. Monika, seeming to have a good idea of what just happened, gives me a wink before going after her. That was odd. Are you ready to leave, Sayori? Sayori, this is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them. Well, don't you worry. I'm also going to start spending time with Monika at some point. During our walk home, I explained the details of my alone time with Natsuki, emphasizing that nothing noteworthy happened between us. But as to whether Sayori was convinced or not, I can't say for sure. Oh, I can't even do anything. Well, I finished the book already. Alright, lunchtime. Alright, so how is this Okay, so Sayori route available. Yuri's still on 0, unfortunately. Okay. Not long after taking a seat in my usual spot, it becomes apparent that I'll be eating lunch alone today. Looks like Kiba is taking his whole harem thing pretty seriously. He's probably out drawing pentagrams and praying to demons for his wish to be fulfilled. Honestly. While the image of this makes my blood pressure rise, another strange thought enters my head. I wonder how the girls from the club would respond if I asked them to eat with me. Sayori is a definite yes. Yuri would probably feel too awkward to refuse. And I would have said Natsuki's a no, but it's hard to tell after that little stunt yesterday. The emails in the group chat are in the group chat, so contacting them wouldn't be difficult. Wait, why am I thinking this being to begin with? Prior to Kiba forcing his way into my life, I had no problem eating alone. Strange. This idea sticks with me for the remainder of the period. Are you on your period? No, sorry. Upon entering the room, I see all 4 girls already present. Monika and Sayori are talking in the back. Yuri is reading at her desk, and Natsuki is sitting in the floor. She's sitting in the floor. She's no clipping through the floor near the closet. Looks like I'm being left to my own devices today. After setting my stuff down at the usual spot, I think about how best to spend my time. Ah, here we go. 4 choices as well. I'm gonna run out of save slots. Okay, so I can talk to Sayori, I can return Yuri's book, I can talk to Natsuki, or I can go study. I guess that has something to do with Monika. But obviously we're returning Yuri's book. I should let Yuri know that I finished the book she lent me. Taking it out of my bag, I head over to where she's seated. Upon making to her desk, however, my arrival appears to have gone completely unnoticed. Assuming she's simply trying to finish a page, I wait patiently in a nearby chair. Yeah, Yuri gets absorbed in her book and she doesn't notice anything. 5 minutes pass with no changes. My original theory of she's just finishing a page was proven incorrect and soon evolved into this hussy's ignoring me on purpose to display dominance. Yeah, sure, that's definitely what Yuri's thinking. But judging by the way her eyes are moving steadily back and forth through several pages, this assumption is proved incorrect as well. Didn't expect the girl who was a gung-ho, whatever that may be, about being helpful to flat out ignore me. Almost makes me want to mess with her. As an enticing thought, one that likely would have seen fruition had my current moral standing in the club not already been questionable. Ahem. Mark? Yo, Yuri! Sorry for the interruption. Just came to say I finished the killing game. That's wonderful news. Her joy is quickly offset by confusion upon realizing that my arrival is old news. Were you waiting for me? Only for a moment. I do apologize, I must not have noticed your approach. Hopefully you didn't sit there for too long on my behalf. No worries, my thoughts kept me company. I see. Anyway, do you want to go ahead and set up a time for our discussion? A time? Yeah, the club might not be long enough for us both to express our thoughts. So I figured we could try meeting up one day after school. You raise a good point. Being cut off or feeling rushed would certainly dampen the experience. That's a surprise. I half expected her to turn into a mumbling mess about just the 2 of us, or is this a date? Maybe she doesn't understand the nuance of a guy and girl hanging out alone together. Did you have any ideas regarding where we should have this? The number of locations I visit beside my house is pretty small, which allows me to run through all the options rather quickly. There's a small cafe that stays fairly quiet a few blocks from my house. The place has never been packed before, so it might be a good choice. Unless you have any reason to object. That will be fine. We shouldn't have any issues if it's as you say. Alright, then that's the plan. Having covered the time and place, Yuri asks another essential question. Do you have a way to contact me regarding your availability? Oh, right. I can pull your email from the group chat if it's not a problem. Yes, that's quite alright. She begins nodding to herself, now that the bases have been covered, meaning she probably failed to realize that I'd have another question on my own. Since I'll be contacting you, mind telling me when you're normally free? Oh, right. I'm usually not busy right after school. The weekend could also work, but that largely depends on what my parents are doing. Okay, so in Blue Skies, of course, her parents died. So here her parents are still alive. At least, you know, maybe not. We don't know. Maybe she's just, like, very good at lying. And just saying that they are alive even though they aren't. But we don't know. But at least there's a bit of information here now. For consistency's sake, let's stick with after the club for now. Saying this, I pull out my phone before adding Yuri's email to my contact list. I'll send over the cafe's address and after confirming you're available. Then we can just meet there. I'm looking forward to it. Same here. Having worked out the details of our little meetup, the two of us begin talking about the book she's currently reading. Oh, come on. There has to be some appeal there somewhere. As Monika once again announces the end of the club, I gather my things and prepare to leave. While doing so, something nudges against my back. Ready to go? You seem chipper. Don't tell me you're back on the sauce, whatever that is. Largely ignoring my remarks, Sayori continues ahead whilst pulling my sleeve. Okay, come on. Oh, what the fuck? I specifically picked Yuri. I read the book. I returned it. What is this? Halfway through our usual route, she stops and turns her attention back towards me. Do you know what today is, Mark? Tuesday? Nope. Well, yeah, but that's not what I meant. Try again. I'm normally not fond of guessing games like this. They're an incredibly inefficient way to handle conversations. But seeing her act told Cherry does make me curious. It's not her or her parents' birthday, so those can be marked off the list. Today's the 12th, right? What's important about the 12th of April? After racking my brain for a couple minutes, something finally comes to mind. Ah, I got it! About time, I was really beginning to worry you wouldn't figure it out. Of course I knew. How can anyone forget the date cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to leave Earth's atmosphere? Was that on the 12th of April? It probably was. What? April 12, 1961, the day the Soviet Union took a massive step forward in the Cold War race. In the Cold War space race. Cold Space War race. That is what you were talking about, right? Judging by the puzzled look and question marks floating above her head, I'm pretty sure this was off the mark. No, there's no question mark. No. You got that for the other guy. What was his fucking name again? Kiba. So why not? You could just copy paste that here. Make a separate sprite for that. Of course not. Jeez, can you remember the date of another country's space expedition? Oh, you can remember the date of another country's space expedition but can't figure out what today is? That does appear to be the case, yes. So that's out a long sigh. Today marks the end of your first week in the literature club. Huh? You joined last Wednesday, remember? Today was your 5th meeting and that makes it a week. She's not wrong, but most people would have waited until the actual day off before celebrating an anniversary. Don't you think you're jumping the gun a bit? Wouldn't it make sense to say all this tomorrow? Well, yeah, I guess. But I got really excited and came up with a ton of stuff to ask you. Like what? Let's see. The first question would be, are you having fun at the club? I wouldn't say I'm not having fun. Another sigh comes from her direction following my response. That's not very reassuring. I'm sorry, these things are still in a grey area to me. Her bleak expression makes me want to try saying something more positive. I certainly don't regret joining, if that helps. Huh? Confidently saying I'm having fun is difficult due to how vague that is, but I've never once thought about anything along the lines of I wish I hadn't joined. You could say that I'm glad I did. It's given me the opportunity to spend more time with you after all. Huh? Well, yeah, I guess. Sayori tries to hide the red that has overtaken her cheeks. Still bad at handling flattery? I'm not, it's just... Unable to prove a rebuttal, she pulls out her trump card. Meanie. The girl's simple nature brings a smile to my face. Those weren't just shallow words either. I really am glad that we get to be around each other more. Huh? Being together in the club and like this makes me think about how things used to be. I'm remembering a lot of stuff I've forgotten. Not all of it's good, but I'd still rather know than not know. This was only made possible because you asked me to join the club. So thanks, Sayori, I appreciate it. She stares at me silently for a moment, either processing what I said or waiting for a sarcastic to follow up. Realizing that I'm being completely genuine, she begins stumbling over her words. I'm really happy. Wait, why are you crying? Is everything okay? What's wrong? My protective instincts kick in as tears begin running down her face. No, She leans forward and wraps her arms around me not long after saying this. The crying grows more intense as her head reaches my shoulder. Aww, they edited the picture! Look at that, she's smiling now. Aww. Are you sure everything's okay? Seeing you this way makes me worry. I know, sorry, I just need a second. There's no need to apologize and take your time. A familiar sensation runs through me while Sayori tries pulling herself together. Been a while since I found myself in this position. A few images of my past flashed by in my mind. Sorry again, Mark, I didn't mean to get like this. You don't have to apologize, remember? If you're really okay, do you mind telling me what happened? I don't recall ever bringing you tears by saying thank you prior to now. I know, it's just a grip on me tightens. I was kind of scared that you didn't like being in the club, you know? I thought that you were only going to meetings because you felt bad for me. So hearing you say that, it made me really happy. Looks like the relief caused me to break down a little, huh? She lets out an awkward laugh after getting this off her chest. Man, you'd think that after all these years you'd know more about me. Huh? Do I seem like the kind of person who's considerate enough to go out of their way to just make someone else feel better? Well, I'll take that hesitation as a no, and you'd be correct. Honestly, if I valued my free time more than my time at the club, I wouldn't go, as simple as that. That does sound like you. Listen, I know you have a tendency to overthink things. I also know that the most I can do is try to be reassuring. But I'm not that complicated. Sure, there are things I can't openly talk about, but outside of that, I'm very straightforward. If you have a question, I'll answer it. Sugarcoating things out of kindness isn't really my style. I see. So, you'll really answer any of my questions honestly? You know where the lines are, so yes, I will. That's good to know. With this, Sayori falls silent before burying her head deeper into my shoulder. We continue standing together until she's had her fill. Upon releasing the hug and wiping her eyes, she looks at me with a wide smile. Okay then, first question. What do you think of the other girls in the club? Ouch! Setting it to hard mode right off the bat. What do you mean? You've gotten to know everyone better over the last week, right? What have you thought about them so far? Well, if I had to decide between fuck, marry and kill... Mark! She slams into my shoulder before I'm able to finish speaking. You can't say words like that. Words like what? Marry? I'll admit that commitment is a terrifying thing, but isn't punching someone over the word going a little too far? Not playing along, Sayori glares at me with fire in her eyes. Sorry, your policy on swear words briefly slipped my mind. I'll work to improve. To think after all that sweet stuff you turn around and say something like that, it's unbelievable. Is it? I'd say you maintain a fairly level head. You were the one rubbing yourself against me while talking about not being able to hide your feelings anymore. Don't say it like that, someone will misunderstand. After panicking for a moment, she lets out a sigh. Are you finished yet? Yes, I do believe I had my fill of teasing. Good, now could you answer the question for real this time? Very well. Do you have any preference about who gets talked about first? No, not really. Then let's start with Natsuki. She's short-tempered, stubborn, and acts confident on the surface, but is insecure about her hobbies and interests. She could also be thoughtful in her own way, but absolutely sucks at handling gratitude and praise. The word tsundere might actually be too fitting of a description. Yuri is pretty much the opposite in most respects. She's timid and selfless, seeming to put others ahead of herself. While this would normally be a good thing, her social awkwardness undermines some of its value. Like Natsuki, though, she really opens up once you're able to find the common ground. And then there's Monika. Honestly, I can't say much about her. She's the one I've interacted with the least since joining the club. Even when we do speak, there's a feeling that something's off. I wonder what that could be. You wouldn't think she'd be a bring everyone together type of person, but her words and actions seem to defy that. Sayori looks confused upon hearing my answer. Well, I'm glad you're learning so much about them, but that sounded like, I don't know, a report or something. That's because it was, a character analysis to be more specific. Judging by your unenthusiastic response, I'm guessing something of this nature wasn't what you intended to receive as an answer. At least you're able to figure out that much. In that case, mind telling me what kind of information you were looking for specifically? Stuff like, do you like them? Do the two of you get along? Do you think you end up becoming friends? Normal things. Normal, huh? Sorry, but I'm not sure how to respond to any of those questions. It's alright. And you asking things like that might not lead to anywhere. I was just hoping you'd be able to understand people feel better after spending some time in the club. Yeah. Following an awkward laugh, Sayori's face takes on a familiar gloomy expression. I appreciate the sentiment, but sadly things aren't that simple. I know. Sorry for bringing it up. No worries. You had my best interest in mind, right? I could never get mad at you for something like that. Having someone as thoughtful as you in my life really is a blessing. Still torn about the situation, she leans over and rests her head on my shoulder. The rest of the walk is shrouded in an unusual tenseness. Trying to shake off the gloom from my earlier conversation, I think about what to do after arriving home. Alright, we can meet with Yuri right now. It's still on 0, so we're meeting with Yuri. I bet if I go more athletic, then I'm going to meet Monika a whole lot more. But, I want to meet with Yuri. As simple as that. Deciding now would be a good time to have that discussion, I pull out my phone and start typing a message. Yuri's response comes quickly and we spend a few minutes ironing out the details. We agree to meet at a good, generally unoccupied cafe near my house in 30 minutes. Why A? You mean the, because you already mentioned it. After sending her the address, I empty my bag of everything except the book and begin preparing. What do you mean? I thought I already returned it to Yuri. Or did I say, or did I only mention, hey, I finished it and didn't actually return it? I guess that's what happens. Begin preparing to leave the house. Reading the menu becomes repetitive while I'm sat silent and alone at a booth nearest the cafe's entrance. Luckily, the oncoming boredom is curbed by the sound of the door opening behind me. Hi, Yuri. Yuri steps through soon after, followed by her looking around nervously until finding me barely 6 feet away. Seemingly relieved by my existence, she lets out a sigh before approaching. This is also a new soundtrack. It still has some touch of the original in it, I like it. I also love the like choir stuff. Hello again, Mark. I hope you weren't left waiting for too long. Not at all. Here, have a seat. Yuri sits in the chair across from me with an elegance ill-fitting of someone with her personality. Contrary to this, however, is the way she anxiously scans the room soon after. Pardon my assumption, but I take it that you don't visit places like this very often? I'm afraid not. Which isn't to say I dislike this place. It's actually rather nice. My unfamiliarity is just making me a tad nervous. That much is obvious, her stiffness is probably noticeable from space. Not wanting the atmosphere to settle and become awkward, I put my lackluster small talk skills to work. Are there any stores that you do enjoy going to? Well, there is a bookstore near my house that I often find myself visiting, if that's what you're referring to. Why ask me? Does she not understand how enjoyment works? Oh yeah, what's it like? The shop itself is small, but there is always a nice selection of books available. They also have a reading area where you're allowed to sit and even order drinks. The oolong... Oh, okay, this Yuri also likes oolong tea. And of course this Yuri also has a book club, a bookstore with a sort of cafe bar in it. The oolong tea they offer is particularly good. I've tried replicating the recipe at home and in the club, but I haven't quite gotten it right yet. The mom and pop version of a manga cafe, maybe? Sounds like a nice place. Are there actually a lot of customers, or is it more like this? I gesture towards the nearly empty cafe. Given her personality, the answer should be pretty clear, but I ask anyway for posterity's sake. The store typically has less than 10 customers at any given time, but larger groups have shown up on occasion. Even then, the atmosphere is still quite peaceful. That a fact? Again, is that like an expression or something? I've never heard of that before. And I read it like every 5 sentences in this mod. I'm playing too much Doom. Seems we have more in common than just books. Leaning back, my attention is turned towards the only other patron currently present. A big reason I come here is this place is because it's never crowded. This might be a bit shocking to hear, or maybe not, but I'm not exactly fond of large groups. Maybe I'd be more accurate to say groups in general. The look of puzzlement on Yuri's face grows more prominent. I see, though I'm a little surprised. Mind if I ask why? Well, possibly because of how you behaved the day you joined our club. Even though Sayori put you in a strange position at first, you didn't seem nervous or embarrassed. But perhaps it's presumptuous to say these things. By all means, feel free to continue. I'm curious to see why you think that way. Be assured by my words, Yuri picks up from where she left off. It appeared as though you got along well with everyone. Sayori had mentioned that you preferred keeping to yourself, but I didn't notice that at all. Not that I was trying to analyze you or anything, Sayori's words had simply made me curious. She begins fumbling over her words, which gives me a good opportunity to interject. I can understand how you came to that conclusion based on what you saw, but my behavior that day can largely be chalked up to Sayori. For some reason, that girl manages to influence my actions any way she wants, which is quite unfortunate considering how she is usually detrimental to me. Our club being an exception, of course. I see. The two of you really are rather close. I'm not sure close is the right word, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Sayori is the only person that I can confidently call a friend, though at this point she's practically like family. A slightly bitter taste appears in my mouth following that last line. What about you, Yuri? Have you anyone like that? I don't usually want to pry. I find myself asking this as a necessary evil to redirect the conversation. Someone I'm close to? She thinks it over for a moment before beginning to fidget. It may sound strange, but you could say that Natsuki and I have grown somewhat close. Though, as you can imagine, discussing our interests with one another can often prove difficult. Not only is it imaginable, I am practically having visions of it. Natsuki is probably screaming somewhere about how cupcakes are the dominant sweet while Yuri is sat timidly answering a simple question. Perhaps her ability to sync up with Natsuki's aggression is evidence that opposites really do attract. You're right, it's definitely surprising to hear that you two get along. And I fully understand the difference in taste. But that difference is what allowed me to get involved. Saying this, I reach into my bag and pull out a single book. Thanks again for letting me borrow it. I'm glad you were the one that I asked for a recommendation. There is really no need to thank me. I'm simply relieved that you enjoyed it. Yuri looks away in an attempt to cover her blush, Before we start talking about the book, would you like to order something to drink? Huh? Oh, yes please. I flagged the waiter standing behind the counter after getting her confirmation. And what may I get for the two of you? I'll have a cup of oolong tea, please. I'll take a coffee. Ugh. I'll take. No, give me some tea as well, please. Those will be out in just a moment. Thanks. Coffee. I don't like coffee. If that reaction didn't give it away already, I think it's absolutely disgusting. I really dislike the taste. I mean, no offense to you if you love it, like you do you, but you can also let me do me and not drink that shit ever again. Yuri begins grinning at me as the waiter walks away. Something wrong? No, not really. You and Monika are the only people I know to drink their coffee black. The fact that you're both in the same club seemed like an interesting coincidence. I see. So Monika drinks black coffee too, huh? Hope that isn't a reflection of her personality. Once we've received our drinks, Yuri and I begin our long-awaited discussion of the killing game. With an hour having passed, the two of us finally coming to a close. Okay. Yuri actually managed to surprise me with how well she handled the conversation. Then again, it makes sense that books would be the easiest topic for her. Well, now that this one's been finished, are there any other recommendations I should know about? I'm glad you asked. After looking through several titles, I found quite a few good contenders, though bringing them here today didn't occur to me, unfortunately. Don't worry, there's no need to rush. Slightly downcast, Yuri looks at me with a curious expression. You mentioned before that you took up reading because your mother, correct? Were there any specific books that made you want to pursue reading more as a hobby? A slight pain runs through my head, thanks to another of Yuri's seemingly innocent questions. Considering her lack of sociability, knowing more about people seems like something she'd obviously want. But still. Answer vaguely or lie. Well, no, not lie, we're gonna answer vaguely. I wouldn't exactly say it was books that got me into reading, strange as that may sound. It's more like something happened to me and I ended up using all my free time to read because of it. At some point it just became a habit. Even after I stopped reading so extensively, I still couldn't help myself from doing it on a semi-regular basis. I feel the pain in my head grow more intense as I speak. I know that might not explain much, but that's how it is. I see. You said an event occurred that made you begin doing it. Do you mind if I ask what it is? Sorry Yuri, but yeah, I do. Saying this, I try to avert my eyes from her as I feel a cold glare begin to occupy them. Sorry, it's not my place to ask such it's not my place. No, Yuri would do that though. It's not my place to pry in such things. Not the, of course, but totally fumble over the words. That's what Yuri would do there, especially. I notice her begin to panic with a look of genuine apology on her face. Knowing I'm the one who did this, I decide to take responsibility. Don't worry about it, it's only natural you'd be curious. The whole situation is kinda complicated, so it's hard for me to talk about it clearly. You didn't do anything wrong. Are you sure? It seems that I upset you. Realizing I probably won't get anywhere like this, I decide to derail the conversation entirely. Really ought to be careful about worrying like that. It'd be a shame if a face as pretty as yours ended up with wrinkles. Yuri remains quiet for a few seconds as she processes what she just heard. You don't... Her brain appears to have been overloaded to the point of not being able to form coherent sentences. Thank you. I barely hear her say this as she begins aggressively playing with her hair. With that out of the way, I lean back into the booth and look at the ceiling. I hope that answer was enough to keep her from asking any more questions like that. If not, I might end up having to put some distance between the two of us. Hey! No, we're not. We're facing this. If anybody is going to be understanding of bad situations, it's going to be Yuri. I mean, all of the girls have the possibility of being understanding about that, but I guess that's just my bias towards Yuri, because I feel Yuri in real life, me and Yuri would have a connection or whatever, like I would, I looked down at the girl who is still malfunctioning in front of me and can't help but feel a little bad about the idea of putting her behind a wall. In an attempt to flip the focus of the conversation, I decided to return to her question. How about you, Yuri? What got you into reading? Oh, I suppose it's only fair to answer my own question, but are you sure you still want to know? The story isn't very interesting. Can't be any worse than sitting in total silence, right? Prying into people's lives isn't something I normally do, but you've piqued my interest. Assuming you're comfortable telling me, that is. Interest? Very well, I don't mind sharing this information. She takes a second to settle down before resuming. It's quite simple, really. My father is an avid reader and keeps a large collection of books in his study at home. When I was a child, watching him read would make me wonder how he was able to stare at a book for hours at a time while seemingly perfectly content. One day he noticed me doing this and asked if I would like to join. Of course, I was still quite young, so my reading ability was nowhere near his level, but nonetheless he sat me down with him and began reading to me. Truthfully, I don't even remember what the book was about, but I remember feeling really happy as he did this, and soon found myself wanting to read together more and more. Yuri had a child's wonder in her eyes as she speaks. Eventually, I began doing it on my own as well. It's been a habit of mine ever since. Seeing a grin on my face, Yuri seems to lock up a bit. Sorry, I didn't mean to ramble like that. She begins playing with the hair in what seems like a way to comfort herself. Try not to take this the wrong way, Yuri, but you really are cute. Wow. I just went out and said it. Right there and then. This girl really has no idea how to take a compliment, does she? Cute? Why would you? The way you tell a story like that, all happy with a big smile on your face, and then how you get embarrassed and apologize without me even saying anything. Cute is the only word I can think of to describe that behavior. I see. Hiding her face as she picks up the speed at which she plays with her hair, Yuri seems to at a total loss for words, which concerns me for horrible reasons. If she continues to remain timid like this, I may end up developing a complex. Then again, Yuri is already my type physically speaking. What the fuck does that mean? He's a boob guy. MC's a boob guy confirmed in My Doki Doki SNAFU. So it probably wouldn't make a huge difference. Thank you. Oh, nothing. Sorry if I made you uncomfortable. No worries. But shouldn't that be my line? It wasn't my intention to put you in any kind of state. Complimenting and praising people honestly and often as possible was instilled in me a long time ago, causing it to occasionally slip out when I'm not thinking. Sorry for my carelessness. No, not at all. It's no reason for you to apologize, though I realize that may sound disingenuous coming from me. She cast her gaze towards the table for a moment. You shouldn't feel regret after trying to make a person feel better. Hearing you, call me cute, made me happy. The words are so soft that they're nearly inaudible. Then I'm glad. You've got a lot to be complimented for, so try not looking down on yourself too much. Though I'm probably not the best person to be giving that advice, or really any advice. Huh? Is something the matter, Mark? No, I'm just thinking out loud. Going back to what we were saying earlier, continuing talking for a little while longer until we both decide that it's about time to leave. After saying our goodbyes, I head back to my house. Sociability increased by 5. Wednesday. Okay, so how is... Okay, wow, only 2? Come on. Those are rookie numbers. We need to bump that up. Oh, wow, it's raining. Looks like the rain is coming down pretty hard today. I should hurry and get going. Keeping my umbrella firmly overhead, I begin making my way towards the school. After school? Oh. Rainy club room. Stepping into the club room, I find that all the girls have already arrived and assumed their usual positions. With the exception of Natsuki, that is. Instead of being hauled up near the closet, she's standing near the window looking out towards the rain. Having a deep-seated existential crisis? Huh? Mark? Wait, what are you talking about? Nothing much. The sight of you staring longingly out the window just made me assume that you were some tortured artist trying to find meaning in such a dreary day. Seriously? That's the first thing on your mind goes to? Based on your reaction, I'm going to take a guess that was wrong? Oh, really? What gave it away? My body's standing over there then. Oh, well, my umbrella sort of broke not too long ago, so I was checking to see if the rain had started letting up yet. Oh great, now I can lend my umbrella to her probably. How did you make it to school this morning if yours is broken? Catch a ride? She shakes her head before looking down towards the floor. I ran. Well, I wreck! Okay, I'm sorry. Taking a closer look, her hair does seem a bit frizzy and unkempt. I see. The situation quickly brings to mind the spare umbrella in my bag. There it is. It's normally reserved for Sayori, but we could just share one considering we're walking in the same way. The sound of rain pattering against the glass is the noise between us for about 30 seconds. My eventual decision is an easy one to make, but I don't plan on giving handouts without enjoying myself first. No umbrella, huh? Explains why your hair is such a mess. What did you say? Fashion isn't really my forte, but if looking disheveled is in nowadays, you're pulling it off wonderfully. You're really trying to pick a fight, aren't you? Not exactly. I just don't believe in charity. Figured saying this first would make it seem like I was making us even. Even? The hell is that supposed to mean? Natsuki glares at me as I open my bag and pull out the spare umbrella. Here, this should work. Huh? A few seconds pass before she manages to process what's going on. This is a trick, right? You're going to mess with me. Sorry, but you seem to be severely misinformed. I'm simply trying to loan you an umbrella. Still doubtful, Natsuki takes it from my hand and begins scanning over it. What's the catch? Planning to make me owe you a favor or something? How distrustful is this girl? I know I'm still kinda new here, and maybe some questionable things have been said, but still. It's only an umbrella. You're overthinking things. I happen to keep two in my bag, and not loaning one out to someone in need would be wasteful. Nothing nefarious about it. That said, I would appreciate it if you return it when you get a chance. Until then, it's all yours. Not wanting to waste time listening to more objections, I start towards my seat. Wait! Got more complaints? Well, thanks for letting me borrow it. But don't get the wrong idea, okay? I'm only taking it because it's convenient. It's not like you're actually helping or anything. Right. Once he's finished a little tsundere routine, I continue walking to my desk. Everything's been put in place not long after. Natsuki's still giving my umbrella an ocular pat down, so I'll leave her be. Alright, obviously we're talking to Yuri. The aroma of tea fills my nose as I approach Yuri's desk. She's currently sat with a book in one hand and a cup of tea in the other. Get thirsty while reading? Oh, Mark, it's nice to see you. As for the tea, I made a small pot of at the behest of Monika. Also, do we already have more appeal? No. Oh, I didn't even do shit! I mean, I didn't have a choice or whatever, you know? That just happened automatically, and now all of a sudden Natsuki I've got more appeal to Natsuki than Yuri? The hell's this? I'm sorry for not asking earlier, but would you like some as well? Thanks, but I'm okay. Glancing around the room, my eyes soon land on the club president who is cheerfully taking a sip while looking over papers. Given that Monika's the one who asked, it's kind of surprising. Is it? Her requests are actually fairly common occurrences. Out of the other three girls, Monika is the one who asks for tea most frequently. I'd say twice a week. Of course, that offer is extended to everyone, yourself included. Whether you're thirsty or just want to relax, I'd be more than happy to prepare some. You really don't mind? Not at all. I believe, as fellow club members, we should do our best to help one another. That a fact? Well, having someone as responsible as you around is certainly reassuring, Yuri. Thanks again for the offer. There's really no reason to praise me. It's common courtesy after all. A saintly aura surrounds her as she says this. Yeah, maybe you're right. Not long after Monika announces the end of the club, I'm met with an unexpected situation. Hey Mark, ready to go? Yeah, I just need to get my things together first. Sayori's stare grows more intense as I'm making sure everything is in my bag. She becomes noticeably surprised upon seeing me close the bag without an umbrella in hand. Huh? Something wrong? Oh, it's nothing. Let's get going then. Right. My lack of explanation regarding our usual routine was bound to make her life slightly more complicated, but curiosity got the better of me nonetheless. Guess this should have been expected. In the short trip between the club room and the school's entrance, Sayori has shifted from confused to her version of angry. She hasn't spoken. Actually. Yes! Alright. She hasn't spoken since we left, which makes me wonder just how far she'll go before asking me for the umbrella. She had no problem begging for one the first few times, which eventually led to me naturally loaning it to her on rainy days. So why act all stubborn now? Does she think I forgot? Women are complicated. So Yuri's eyes dart up towards me as I mutter this. Well, no use standing around here. Come on, we should get going. As I reach for the door, angry mumbling comes from Sayori's direction. Something wrong? Gotta pee? Even though her face goes red, Sayori refuses to budge. Out of all the time she could decide to hold her ground, it's because of an umbrella. I let out another sigh before stepping back towards her. Alright, punk, out with it. Why did you just ask for the thing? If you need the umbrella, why not say something? I was half tempted to let you walk in the rain. You remembered? I'm not becoming senile, you know? It hasn't been that long since we've done this. It's been what, 2 weeks? Sure, I'd normally give it to you when we'd pass each other during school hours, but still. People are gonna start thinking I'm your brother, or maybe keeper would be more accurate. You really are a handful, you know? Not that I really care how people interpret me and Sayori's relationship, so as long as people aren't as obnoxious as Kiba. Sorry, I didn't know it bothered you. What are you? Noticing the downcast expression on her face, I realized my wording just now was rather poor. Your ability to misinterpret these things really is worrying sometimes. What do you... Thump. Ow! A swift thump is delivered to the space right between her eyes. That's punishment for overthinking. Sayori stares at me while rubbing her newly formed red spot on her face. Let me be more concise this time. I'm not bothered by occasionally loaning you an umbrella. In fact, it's the opposite. Since we don't normally see each other otherwise, rainy days give us a reason to meet up, if only briefly. I've told you before that I genuinely enjoy spending time with you. That applies to those situations as well. The response comes in the form of a blush and several seconds of silence. It seems like sudden outbursts of kind words really throw her off. Now that's not that that's anything new. I knew that. If you're gonna try and play it off, don't you think you could have come up with something better? She shakes her head. Thanks, Mark. Hearing that makes me happy. Might want to hold on to that gratitude. I really don't have an extra umbrella today. Huh? The spare is currently in the possession of our resident tsundere. The algorithms going through Sayori's brain are practically visible as she processes this. Apparently coming to the conclusion that me and Natsuki are lovers now, she begins pouting. Natsuki, huh? That was nice of you. Could you give the jealousy a rest already? This weather has made me too tired to... Her sudden giggling catches me off guard. What's this, finally gone off the deep end? Another shake from her head before she looks up at me beaming. When you joined the club, I was a little scared that you and Natsuki would always be fighting, so I'm glad to hear that you're getting along. Sayori does say this in her usual "I'm going to ignore you for 3 days" tone, but rather doesn't say this in her usual "I'm going to ignore you for 3 days" tone, but rather in a genuine one. I see. Though it's not like this is the first time we've interacted kindly towards each other, and I did insult her appearance before giving her the umbrella. You're not supposed to be mean to girls, Mark. Still, I'm sure she was happy when you gave it to her. Considering how paranoid she acted, I'm not sure about that. Then again, tsunderes are far beyond my area of expertise. Sayori stands around giggling for a moment before realizing the obvious problem in this situation. But wait, I really don't have an umbrella! Took you long enough? I pulled out my main umbrella before motioning Sayori over. We live across the streets from each other, so sharing one shouldn't be inconvenient. She darts over her eyes between me and the umbrella a few times before beginning to smile. Ooh! If I didn't know better, I think you'd set this whole thing up. What can I say? I am a hopeless romantic after all. Well, you certainly got the hopeless part right. What was that, you little punk? You must really want to walk home in the rain, huh? Still laughing from her joke, Sayori grabs my arm and quickly pulls me outside, barely giving me enough time to open the umbrella before we're both pelted. About halfway through the walk, Sayori begins nudging progressively harder into my arm. Now is really not the time to foster skinships, you know? Sorry, it's just that my shoulder is getting wet. Deal with it, this umbrella isn't big enough for 2 people. Meanie. You're supposed to offer the girl more room in times like this. But then I would get rained on. That's the point! Haven't I already told my opinions on gender equality? Okay, so my actual name is Kazuma. Plus, you're not the only one getting wet. You're afraid to get wet! I'm actively making Sayori red right now. My shoulder is soaked too. Maybe if you slim down. Wow, that was an aggressive punch from Sayori. Ugh! She used her elbow to deliver a powerful blow straight to my abdomen. It momentarily knocks the breath out of me and almost caused me to drop the umbrella. What was that, Mark? I didn't quite hear you. I said you have a very healthy frame. Watching me speak between breaths, Sayori's glare softens a little. If she's gonna start fighting back with me with that much force, I'm really gonna have to start watching what I say. Ugh, you really have no idea how to treat girls, do you? No, ma'am, I'll work to improve. It starts with tilting the umbrella more in her direction, causing even more rain to land on me. Sayori seems content with this as I begin rubbing over my new bruise. After returning home, changing and eating dinner, I settled down in my room to finish some homework. However, not too far into the problems, my phone begins vibrating on the desk next to me. The Literature Club's group chat? Wonder what's going on. Laying the phone in front of me, I begin reading over the message. Oh wow, everyone's here. Okay everyone, I've got some important news regarding the club. Oh, are we having another party? Did someone finally report Mark and he's getting kicked out? Perhaps this is about the new supply of books that we'll be receiving. Well, close. But no, you're all totally wrong. The news I'm speaking of is that the club meeting for tomorrow is cancelled. Huh? Cancelled? Seriously? How come? As you may know, the sports clubs are taking new members starting Friday. The volleyball team asked me if I could help them prepare for their orientation tomorrow, and I agreed. Volleyball team? I thought you quit that when you started the literature club. I did, and normally I wouldn't have to do something like this since a new team captain has been appointed, but she got sick recently, so they asked me to handle it since I have experience hosting an orientation. I see, that's unfortunate. But could we really not just still hold a club meeting? Yeah, so Yuri's vice president, isn't she? Wouldn't she be there? Wouldn't her being there be enough? I wish I could say yes, but I'm afraid not. For an official club meeting to be held in an assigned classroom, you need either the club president or faculty advisor to be present. There are some exceptions to this with bigger clubs, but for ours that's just how it is. Couldn't we just ask our advisors then? She hasn't sat in during the club since Mark joined. It would be a good chance for them to meet. I still think it might be a misunderstanding. Might be misunderstanding something about him. She might be misunderstanding some things about him. What's that to misunderstand? You should have heard what he said to me when we were doing the dishes on Monday. Hey, what did he say? Mark's questionable Mark's questionable morality aside, I've already discussed it with our advisor and she said she'd be busy taking care of other clubs. And the students wanting to join them. But again, us not being present just means that you can't have an official meeting. 4 of you could still get together somewhere after school and hold an unofficial one. I see, but where would it be held? I prefer it be somewhere private as possible. Why not at your house, Yuri? Well, I don't think Yuri's house would have enough room for everyone. Same goes for mine. And how about yours, Sayori? Well, we do have the room, but I'm afraid it might be a bit messy. I know you're not very organized, but it's not like we have to have a meeting in your room. Are you saying the rest of the house isn't any cleaner? The thing is, I sort of inherited my messiness from my mom, so... I see. My regards to your father. Monika! Well, I suppose that just leaves Mark's house. Oh, that's a great idea! His house has plenty of room and he always keeps it super clean. For real? He seriously cleans? I must say, I do see Mark being the organized type who likes to do his work in a neat area. And what makes you say that? Have you been stalking him or something? Of course not! It's just, when he comes into the club room he always sets his stuff in the exact same position. And when he reads, he carefully makes sure he has plenty of space, while also trying to take up as little as possible. He seems... He seems to be very efficient and methodical. A very efficient and methodical person. Everybody's like, did something happen? Not exactly, it's just that we didn't know you saw him that way. I had no idea you could be so bold at times. Anyways, I still don't think having a group of girls all meet at a guy's house is a good idea. Oh, are you sure about that? Perhaps instead of with a group, you prefer to go there without anyone else so the 2 of you could finally be alone together? What? What the hell are you talking about? Also, why the hell are they all talking about like I'm not in the group chat yet? They all know that I am. Why would they want to be alone with a pervert like him? It's okay, Natsuki, I was only teasing, no need to go so worked up. Ugh. Well, regardless of what you do, I just wanted everyone to know that the meeting tomorrow is cancelled. How you spend that time is totally up to you, but do try to behave in a way befitting of a literature club member. And that's it, that's all the news I had for today. Did you get all that, Mark? Yes, ma'am, no meeting tomorrow, the time is ours to use as we please, so as long as it doesn't tarnish the name of the club. Perfect, okay everyone, that's it for today. Wait. Were you in here the whole time? Why didn't you say anything? Also, this is a group chat. I can reread everything afterwards. Why are you embarrassed? You should know that I can reread stuff after it's done, after it's said. Hey, don't ignore me! Perhaps he's busy. I'm not sure if that's what it is. Natsuki? What did Mark say to you when you 2 were together on Monday? Well, I kinda don't want to repeat it. I'm quite curious as well. Surely it was just a misunderstanding and he didn't actually mean any harm by saying it? Misunderstanding, huh? You really do give this guy too much credit, Yuri. Fine, if you want to know what he said, then I'll tell you. See if you can stick up for him after that. I'm no psychic, but I get the feeling my life is going to become much harder in the near future. Rubbing my temples, I put my things back in my bag and head to bed. Oh, I can't read or anything? Okay. Thursday, April 14th. Alright! That'll be it for this episode of My Doki Doki SNAFU. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. Click the like button if you liked the video, subscribe to join the Roman army, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, Romans. Waleta.